A lot of people, either you go somewhere to see them and then get a chance to meet them, or you're in an airport or on the street, and you hit that celebrity that you've always admired. And we want to know, how did that turn out for you? Good, I hope. You know, the one that we always hear something about, and it's amazing to me, the folks that ran into or met or had an opportunity to meet Elvis. And you hear the same thing every time. How generous he was with his time. Must have been basically a very, very good fellow. We'll talk about your brushes with greatness, or just about anything on your mind. We're going to get right to the phones now and go to Cleveland, Tennessee, and talk to the Shady Lady. Hello, Shady Lady.
Good morning.
How you doing, my friend?
I've got chills all over me thinking about who I met.
Tell me.
Unexpectedly. Stopped in, this is many years ago, probably in the 70s. Stopped in Nashville on our way home and begged my husband to stop at the RCA recording building to see if they had any records I didn't have of Floyd Kramer's.
Yeah.
Went in there. It was so hot. It was longer than I expected. Went back downstairs and told them to come in where it was air conditioned. Went upstairs, and Jim Reeves' secretary was the only door that was open, and I went in and talked to her, asked her and she said they didn't have any records for sale. But nevertheless, I was sitting there talking to her, and who walked in the door and put his arm up on the sill and just kind of relaxed and stood there and said, "Well, I'll be back later." And I looked up, and you talk about dumber than dumb times. I said, "Floyd." I couldn't believe this man was standing there before my eyes. I just sounded so silly. But I knew it. I knew I did, but I couldn't let anything come out of my mouth that makes sense. So anyway, he said, "Hello, how are you?" And I said, "Floyd, you've been a fan of mine for years." I couldn't say a thing. Everything come out backwards. But I had 57 of his albums. Has spent many an hour enjoying his music.
Oh, you were a super fan. No wonder you were bowled over.
Oh, I was bowled over. I have just spent many an hour. Anyway, before he passed away, I thought about writing a letter and telling him how many hours of enjoyment he'd given me.
Yeah. But
I don't believe there's anybody in the music world hardly left anymore that were gentlemen, and that was one of them. And Chet Atkins and Boots Randolph.
Yeah.
And I went to Boots Randolph's last night in his supper club there in Nashville just a couple years ago here. And he is the same way, gentleman and a half.
So you were impressed with Floyd Kramer and got to talk to him and the whole works.
Not only that, but I went back downstairs where my children were sitting, and they run to me as I got off the elevator and said, Mom, guess who we saw? And he talked to us. I said, "Who?" "I just saw Floyd Kramer." He said, "We saw him before you did." I said, "How did you see him before I did?" "Well, he come here and stood and took the elevator upstairs."
Great story.
They said something to him. They knew who he was right away because I've always talked about him and enjoyed his music. And they said losers, weepers to him. My youngest son did, who was about 8 at the time. And Floyd turned around and talked to them and asked them if they were on vacation and so forth and so on.
Great story.
And it was wonderful. A thrill of my life. It really was.
And a lifetime memory.
Yes.
Very good. I'm glad you called.
All right.
Take care of your sweet self. I'll talk to you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Hey, just a short time ago, gang, AirTran Airlines introduced A-Plus Rewards, the fastest way to earn a free ticket on any major airline. Well, AirTran passengers have already begun earning their free tickets. Some took only 3 weeks. Now, hey, you can earn a fast free trip, too. You just take 6 round trips in AirTran's business class, 12 round trips
with somebody, with friends. But this time I was going by myself. Walked by the Princeton campus, and standing in the backyard of his home was, guess who? Albert Einstein.
Oh.
Now, I didn't shake hands. I didn't shake hands.
Had the old leaf blower going, did he?
I didn't shake hands. Hello, Albert, how are you? Well, hello, Martha, how are you? But I saw him just as clearly as I could see him with that big white bushy hair. And that was a thrill of a lifetime for me. I didn't interact with him at all.
Well,
and I know that's what you're looking for.
Well, but what would you say?
What would I say?
Al, how's it going? What, you got any theories about that?
I didn't know much about E equals MC squared.
Yeah.
But that was a thrill for me.
Of course, and a great story, too.
Okay. Now, let me go on, and you tell me when it's time.
All
okay?
right. All right.
I asked the whole family, and these are the responses I got. My brother was sent by his company, East Coast to West Coast, and he got in first class as one other person on the plane all the way. That person was Cesar Romero.
Really?
And I said, how'd you like him? He said, oh, I didn't want to intrude on his privacy. Now, you see, my brother is not a loudmouth like I am.
Yeah.
He didn't bother him. And I'm sure Cesar Romero probably liked that, but I could never have done it.
No, you couldn't have stood it.
No.
Very interesting.
My son has played in backup bands for a whole lot of different people, but I think probably the most noteworthy are Bob Hope, Anita Bryant, and Joanne Castles.
All right.
And he has comments about each one, but since it's his story, I better not tell you, I guess.
Give me one more and I'm out of time.
Okay, this one, I guess, since you're in Georgia, I better tell you this one. My good friend went to a historical house that had been advertised in the paper there in Atlanta. And she was met out on the lawn where her bus came up by a lady in a pink, long pink evening dress. The lady said, my name is Mrs. John Marsh. Welcome. They toured the whole place, and when they got through, my friend looked at her and said, you really look familiar to me. Could it be that your pen name is Margaret Mitchell? And the Mrs. John Marsh said, well, yes, it is, but I hope that doesn't hurt our friendship.
Nice stories.
That's a good story, isn't it?
Nice stories.
Thank you for doing this.
You take care. I'm glad we hit on something your family was already involved in.
Thank you, Ludlow.
You take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, what do carpet shopping in Dalton and whitewater rafting on the Oconee River have in common? Well, they both mean that you should be staying at the Ivy Inn Bed and Breakfast. You call for your reservations today, 706-517-0526. Ludlow and Phil on the Fun Seekers Radio Network, and we'll be right back with some more Brushes with Greatness right after this. Have you been just about to bust to have one of those beautiful new Dodge Intrepids or the Dodge trucks that just about everybody... 1-800-572-8255. Let us talk to Danny on the radio. Hello, Daniel.
Lud, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, big boy.
How's the coffee?
Hot. Come on by, your cup's getting cold.
I'll tell you what, if I had time, I'd sure be right by there, and you know that. As you know, I have a job that requires me to have my name on my shirt.
Yeah.
But I was taking advantage of some spare time one night, went down to Covington and in the heat of the night, and who walked by but a little red-headed fellow by the name of John Biner. And John Biner, to me, is one of the better impressionists. In fact, to me, he's as good or better than Rich Little.
No question, he's good.
And it took me by surprise, and I said, he was walking with a couple of ladies, and I said, it just come out of my mouth, hi, John. He saw my name on and said, hey, Danny, how are you? and carried on and everything, and took the time to talk to me, and of course I took advantage to do a little audition right there for him, and went into one of my impressions, and he loved it.
Oh, that's fun. And you couldn't stand it, could you?
I just had to. And as they walked away, the lady said, who was that? He said, it was Danny.
And you had his name right on his shirt.
Oh, but that was funny. Very nice man. Very nice man.
A big talent.
Yeah.
A big talent. And you see him doing some straight acting things too, without the impressions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite an actor.
And he does a great Donald Duck.
Oh, well, listen, Lud, I guess I better get back to the, Mr. Haney would say, the wheels of commerce.
Make them turn, buddy. Make them turn. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.
Hang in there.
Bye-bye.
Cooper Weight Loss Centers, gang, helping you win the Battle of the Bulge. You call 770-952-7681 for more information. Let's talk to an old friend back, the Sawdust Kid. Hello, buddy.
Break the glass, sound the alarm. The Sawdust Kid is on the air. I can't believe I remembered it.
I can't either. You did good.
Thank you, sir. Been out making the wheels of progress turn, as they say.
Attaboy. Well, I knew you were busy or we'd be hearing from you.
Yes, sir. Now, you understand that there's only one real celebrity out there, and that's Leroy, of course.
Of course. Well, it's his day.
Yes, sir. And a lot of things have been said about him, like we know for a fact that he was the first one to coin new and improved.
Mm-hmm.
We know that he was the first one to say void where prohibited by law and common sense.
And he was always, and he's overlooked on this a lot, but offer not good in Nebraska. He came up with that. Yeah.
Exactly. Also, some people don't know that he spent time in Congress, but they threw him out when he suggested that they have a not so grand jury to try smaller cases.
An adequate jury.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And he was the first one to plead, everybody has to plead guilty or not guilty when they go to trial.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first one ever to plead aggravated homicide.
Mm-hmm.
Stood right there in front of the judge and told him, Your Honor, yes, sir, he aggravated me and I had to kill him.
Yeah, that's an honest man. And when did you meet Leroy?
Oh, well, be honest with you, I've never actually met Leroy, but I've got several friends that have.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sort of a real good bosom buddy of Leroy by proxy, I guess.
You knew the guy that knew the guy.
Right.
Well, very good.
Also, not only is Leroy so great in the things that he's done and the things that he's created to make our lives better, he's been the cause of a lot of things that are in the English language as well. Matter of fact, he was the cause of his wife being the first one to say, I will forgive you, but I can never forget.
Was that Leroy?
Yep. That's a fact.
That one thing alone should put him in the history books.
And then the other, this is not so much as a saying, he's the cause of his wife being the first woman to ever do the look. You know?
You're talking about one of those bring you to your knees looks?
Uh-huh.
The look. I got you.
Uh-huh. You've been there.
I got you.
You've had enough wives, you know.
Everybody's been there. Everybody's been there. Big boy, don't be gone so long.
Well, if it wasn't for the grace of God and the power outage, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, for whatever reason, we're glad to have you.
Thanks, sir.
Talk to you soon.
Pleasure.
My pleasure.
Bye.
1-800-572-8255. Gadsden, Alabama. Big Hugh.
Good morning.
Good morning, buddy.
I know you've met a lot of great, famous people, and you're modest, and wouldn't brag about it. But really, what's it like to meet Radio Ray?
It's a pretty imposing thing.
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome is a good word. Yeah. It's one of those things, you know what's happening to you, but you just can't quite believe it.
What do they say? Radio Ray has left the building.
Yeah.
Like they do there?
Yeah.
Well, how do you get through all that gaggle of giggling girls?
Oh, he's got a special way out.
Kitty.
He wears a disguise.
I've always wondered about that.
Yep. He's a real show business factor, we'd have to say that.
And you've actually met him?
Oh, yeah. We shook hands one time.
Good. Did you wash your hands?
We ate lunch together at different tables.
Have a good one, buddy.
All right, buddy, I'll talk to you. 1-800-572-8255. We want to hear about the celebrities who passed through your life, even for a moment. Join us.
Sing one last spring, Reuben James.
That Ludlow with you? What's grab him? It's a break. Holy mackerel, you want? Oh, come on, boys. Prison break!
Faded shirt, weather drought. James. Reuben James, you still walk the great fields of my mind. Faded shirt, weather drop, got a stance along the top. Look you then and I look you now, Reuben James.
Celebrating 50 years of service to Northeast Georgia. We're News Radio 960, WRFC, Athens.
Good morning, I'm Beth Larson with an information update on News Radio 960, WRFC. 74 degrees at 10:30. Your official 3-day forecast is coming up. The Georgia State Supreme Court ruling Monday upholding the conviction. Mark Mize was found guilty of the 1994 murder of Eddie Tucker. Both Mize and Tucker were members of the National Vestalian Aryan Party. Evidence presented during the 1995 trial indicated that Mize shot Tucker after Tucker refused an order to burn down a crack house. The arson was apparently meant to have been part of the initiation into the white supremacist organization. Athens Clark County Commissioners meeting tonight.
Dalton, Georgia, and Louise on the radio. Good morning, Louise.
Good morning.
How are you?
Doing good. How you doing?
I'm doing so good today.
Well, I wanted to tell you about a celebrity I ran into one time. When my son was in high school, he went to a leadership conference sponsored by, I believe it was the Hugh O'Brien Leadership Conference. And there was a breakfast on the morning that the conference ended, and who should walk in but Hugh O'Brien himself. And as he was approaching the front of the room there, I just had to stick my hand out, and he shook my hand. He was just so gracious.
Wide Earth in person.
Wide Earth in person.
Yeah. Well, that's good. And this was a youth leadership conference?
Yes, it was. High schools from around the area, or actually probably all over the state, send representatives from their high schools, and he provides training for them.
Leadership training.
Right.
That's great.
It is great.
That's great.
But I see somebody that I also would like to meet, and that's Dick Breimeyer. I ordered those books last week, and they came, and I have just been in stitches.
Yeah, they're fun, aren't they?
They're great.
They're really fun.
They really are.
And it'd be like mine full on the big old dog ear where you go through them, just kind of.
Oh, I've got a bookmark in there that, one of those weather things, I believe it is, that he sent along with that.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah. I knew you'd enjoy them. I'm glad you got them.
Well, I wanted to ask you about something.
Okay, sure.
Did I hear you mention Ivy Inn in Eton? That's a great place, isn't it?
It's wonderful. We spent the weekend, I guess weekend before last up there. Wonderful place.
Did you do the Ocoee?
No, we just went to the bed and breakfast.
Oh, I see.
And underline that breakfast. That's not one of the places where you get an orange. That's a full-size, wonderful breakfast.
That's right. Well, that's great.
Well, when you get over there, you stop in.
I will. Will do.
I'm glad you called.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Jasper Jeep Gang, no matter where you live, your Jeep dealership is in beautiful Jasper, Georgia. 1-800-572-8255 as we talk to my buddy the Bumpkin.
Good morning, Uncle.
Hello, big boy.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. You all right?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I'm going to do better than that in a little while. Let me tell you something. I just picked my first fine ripe tomato.
Oh, congratulations.
And it is golden red, and I'm going to perform surgery about 11:30.
Now, that's an hour away, Bumpkin. You know good and well you can't wait an hour to fix that first tomato sandwich.
Well, I'll tell you what I done, Lily. I carried it in the house and put it on the table and got my walk-around phone and come out on the carport so I wouldn't have to look at it. I believe I'll make it.
Yeah, well, just avoid temptation.
Right. Well, I'm trying to wait on my better half to have a slice, too.
Good, yeah.
But talking about meeting celebrities, But happy birthday to Leroy first.
All right, thank you.
And I did long years before he got so famous. He was a millwright, wasn't he?
He was a what?
A millwright.
He's done so many things. That's probably the case.
I think he's the one that invented the Phillips head screw.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think he was working with Mr. Phillips, and Mr. Phillips sort of stole it from him, but I think Leroy invented the Phillips head screw.
Yeah, probably should be called the thong screw.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I've had some hankering that he also was part of the Allen head screw. He invented that.
I did not know that.
Well, I don't know it either, but I worked with his cousin one time in the millwright business, and we used his cousin basically for a forklift. And but anyhow, talking about celebrities, I was riding down the road one day and I saw this fella and pulled over on the side with his hood up. Pulled up beside him and said, "Hey, buddy, can I help you?" Ray Knight, Cincinnati Red.
Really?
Yes. And he said, "Yes, if you'll get me to a telephone." So we was a mile or two from my house, and I carried him up there and let him use the telephone. And he was a very nice young man. And he signed autographs for all the youngers in the neighborhood while he was there, and was very, very nice to everybody.
Very good. Very good. I'm glad you called, big boy, as always.
All right. Thank you,
You
bud.
take
See
care
you
of yourself. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. 1-800-572-8255 as we go to Rome, Georgia, and talk to Big Bad Jim on the radio. Hello, Jim.
Well, good morning, Ludlow.
And to you.
Well, let's see. We still could talk about Leroy.
Sure, yeah.
He's showed up down at the bus stop, you know.
I can't believe that.
The residents down at the bus stop.
I have a hard time with that now.
He come up in the first, he said, "Cross town bus run all night," and they all said, "Doo-dah." Later, they signed him up as a motivational speaker. And Pinkard Hughes, you know, good old P. Hughes.
Yeah.
He talked him into changing his name from Frida.
From Frida Fong?
Yeah. It wasn't always Leroy. But
see, we learn something every time we talk about him.
But see, now he's an example of coming close to greatness, but no cigar.
Yeah.
For instance, he invented Preparation G.
And 6 Up.
He failed because it was flammable. We won't go into how you found that out.
No.
Okay, and he wrote a book called The Horse Whipper.
The Horse Screamer.
Yeah, and you know the poem by Robert Browning?
Which one?
It says, "Well, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways." He cataloged every one of them.
Did he really?
Yeah, about 40 of them.
And checked them out?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
And he said also, truth is stranger than friction.
Missed it by just that much.
Yeah. Then there's one called for an aviator called High Flight. And that's the title of the poem, High Flight.
Yeah.
You know, it starts out with "I've slipped the surly bonds of earth."
Yeah, right.
So forth. The last thing is "Let touch the face of God." Well, he found out that this guy had violated many of the federal air regulations. The very thing about High Flight.
And turned him in, did he?
It's right. You're not supposed to have any. You know, it's supposed to be 24 hours between the bottle and the throttle. He, of course, is well known.
Oh, he's a beloved character.
Beloved.
And we celebrate his birthday today.
That's right. And I hope that we get to see him again, although I don't have much hope.
Oh, yeah. He continues to wander in and out of all our lives. Listen, I got to go, bud.
Yeah, okay. Take care now.
Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
1-800-572-8255. More right after this. Now, if you're over 65 or a Medicare beneficiary and you live in most parts of the Atlanta area, get out your pencils and listen up because Gainesville, Georgia now and talk to Ron on the radio. Hello, Ron.
Good morning, Ludlow.
Good morning, big boy. How you doing?
Oh, how in the world do you follow Jim?
Yeah, I'm not sure you can.
I figured out why Radio Ray didn't know who Leroy was.
Why?
Well, when they made Leroy's life story into a movie, and Radio Ray's such a big movie fan, and they called the movie Forrest Gump.
Okay.
That's what confused him.
Okay, confused me too.
Do I get a refrigerator magnet for figuring that out?
No, but you get my warmest personal regards.
Oh, okay. That's good enough. Miss Wanda sure would like a refrigerator magnet, though.
Well, send me a self-addressed envelope in here, and I'll get you one.
I'll do it.
All right, big boy.
Appreciate it.
You take care. Good to talk to you.
Nice talking to you.
Bye-bye. 1-800-572-8255, Covington, Georgia, and Mike on the radio. Hello, Mike.
No, Max Ludlow.
Max, excuse me.
M-A-R-K. My Boston accent.
Oh, okay, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I saw Tom Bosley on a plane one day, and I was complimenting him on the job he was doing on the Father Dowling Mysteries.
Yeah.
Which took place in Chicago.
Yeah, great series.
And he kept trying to tell me he was not Tom Bosley.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you sure look like him. And he says, well, it isn't that. He says, he looks like me. Now, he says, if you want me to, I'll give you his autograph. Lord knows, he says, I've signed his name hundreds of times. But that and that dollar will get you a cup of coffee. Because he says, I'm not Tom Bosley. Well, he was the spitting image of him.
But he convinced you he was not Tom Bosley.
Well, another thing, he really convinced me. He says, if I was Tom Bosley, do you think I'd be riding in coach here? I'd be in first class.
There's some logic to that, Mark.
Yeah, so he kind of talked me into it.
There's some logic to that, yeah. Very good. I'm glad you called, bud.
Same here.
Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you. 1-800-572-8255, Asheville, North Carolina, and my buddy Charlie. Hello, Charles.
Good morning, Ludlow.
How you doing?
Well, I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Wide open today.
Okay. I wanted to tell you about my brief brush with a couple of celebrities.
All right.
In my job, it required me to be all over the country. I practically lived in airports being national sales manager.
Yeah.
One time in Atlanta, I was using the phone in the red carpet room there to call home. Tell the wife that I was going to be late as usual because Piedmont Airlines ran consistently late. And on the phone next to me was Bob Hope.
Really?
And he was calling someone, and I recognized his voice without having seen him.
Sure.
And so it's the only autograph I ever asked for in my life.
Yeah, that was a biggie.
And he signed my ticket, you know, good luck, Charlie, Bob Hope, and off he went. Now, the second encounter was really interesting. Sitting in Atlanta, the plane's getting ready to depart. You know, they're fixing to close the doors, and everybody's settled down. And all of a sudden, the doors open back up, and comes on board. I'm sitting there by myself in first class. Comes on board George Jones and Tammy Wynette. And so, just without thinking, I said, hello, George. Why, George Jones, you know. And he says, don't I know you? I said, no, you don't know me unless you'd seen me on about the third row in Asheville, North Carolina when you're there. And so they had the seat. Both of them sat down. Tammy was pregnant. Right across from me, right across the aisle. 2 seats. So after the plane took off, and you know, you could get up out of your seat, unfasten your seatbelt, and move around a little. George unfastened his seatbelt, stepped across the aisle, sat down beside me, and we talked all the way to Orlando, Florida.
Oh, must have been.
He was the most friendliest celebrity I've ever met in my life.
And that was probably the shortest trip you ever took.
Oh, it was the shortest trip, and at that time they served these little old 2 bottles to everybody in first class. Well, I always put mine in my briefcase. Because I was on business, I didn't want to not be able to conduct business properly. George drank his. And when we got almost ready to land, I we talked about everything but music.
Uh-huh.
We just talked about traveling because I didn't know to talk about music.
Yeah.
Talked about traveling, flying, moving around, and blah, 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 blah. He wanted me to go home with him. He'd done had 4 by that time.
Yeah.
He got 2 more.
He's looking for a house guest, wasn't he?
Oh, man, and I wish I'd have went, too.
Yeah. You'll never have that chance again, probably.
Never, because I don't travel anymore. Retired.
All right, my man, great story.
Okay.
Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you soon.
Right over.
Bye-bye. All right, gang, get the idea. We're talking about brushes with greatness. Good experience, bad experience, or just an experience. Our number, 1-800-572-8255. Ludlow and Phil and you, by golly, are listening to the Fun Seekers Radio Network.
I'm Dr. J.T. Cooper. You've heard me on radio.
Hello, Marie.
Hey, Ed Ludlow.
How you doing?
Good. I'm a first-time caller, but a long-time listener.
Well, welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you. I had an experience back in 1959. I went to Cooperstown to the Hall of Fame game as a guest of the Kansas City A's, and we were invited. My aunt and I went, and we went to the reception. And, of course, all the celebrities were there, and my aunt and I were the only 2 young gals, so we got quite a bit of action from the ball players. But old Tyrus Raymond Cobb came up to us and was introduced, and that was the end of my flirting with the ball players because he just sat me down there in a rocking chair, and we talked, and I met all the people that came to pay him homage.
Ty Cobb.
Yeah. And
how did you like him?
You want me to tell you the truth?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he was a mean old man.
Well, you know, he was so disliked by the other members of the Hall of Fame. They once had refused to have their picture taken with him.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was kidding him about him going. I was quite a baseball fan in those days, and I was kidding him about going in with his spikes, to second base, and he took off his shoes and socks and showed me the spike marks in his legs where people had really given it back to him. So he said, I give it, but I get it too. So, well, anyway, we talked a while, and he said, would you like to go to the World Series this year? And I said, sure, because it was always in New York, and I lived up in the mountains in New York State, and the Yankees had won every year up to that point. So I figured no big deal. Well, about 3 weeks later, I get a plane ticket in the mail to San Francisco, or to Los Angeles. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it was the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Chicago team, White Sox, that were playing. So, golly, I asked my boss if I could take time off. I was a school teacher, and he said, "Boy, you better believe it." So away we went. So that was my big experience.
Very interesting. Surely, truly, I mean, not a beloved character, but arguably the best man to ever play the game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt. But he was a tough man, and he had a real drinking problem, which was really bad.
Yeah, you hear those stories.
Yeah, I went later on and worked for him for a while, but I didn't stay very long. I couldn't take it.
You take care of yourself. Great story. Talk to you soon.
Right.
Bye-bye. 1-800-572-8255 is our number. Telstar International Communications, gang. Long distance for 10 cents a minute, home or business. Call 1-800-959-9964 and stop paying too much for your long distance service. 1-800-572-8255, Moreland, Georgia, and Janice on the air. Hello, Janice.
Hi, Ludlow.
How are you?
This is my second call you, but I listen to you an awful lot.
Thank you.
But my brush with celebrity was Brian Bloom, and he stood under my car shelter out here and made a long-distance phone call to New York. They were filming Desperate for Love here on our property. And he is not the most likable movie star I ever met because he was very businesslike.
And who was this again?
Brian Bloom. B-L-O-O-M, Brian Bloom.
Bloom, yeah. The name is very familiar, but I can't put a face
He
with
used to be on The Guiding Light, I think, at one time, and then he started into movies.
Okay.
And he filmed Desperate for Love along with Kristen Slater.
Okay.
They were both here. Kristen Slater, we ate lunch with all of them over at the catering shelter that they set up when they were there filming, and we were invited to lunch with all the stars of the movie. And they were filming here at our barn, in one of the scenes, and my husband was one of the extras that was in the scene. And Brian Bloom came down, wanted to make a phone call, and he didn't come inside. We had a long cord, and he took the phone outside and made the call and said, I'll pay the bill. I still have the bill. We paid the bill. And we made a scrapbook with all this information in the scrapbook.
Oh, I bet you got a lot of good pictures, too, didn't you?
We have a lot of good pictures, and every little thing we found on our property that belonged to the movie, we would pick it up and put it in the scrapbook. We have a little knife, and we have matchbooks and all this stuff. But my children love to look back at it.
Yeah, sure. You got memories, as I said earlier, memories for a lifetime.
That's right. When the catering truck sits up in your front yard and the production crew, the wardrobe and everything is right here, the house is blocked off by security where no one can come up. It was really an exciting adventure that we had.
And how did they happen to find you?
My husband was in with the Sibley Milling Company, and they filmed the movie at the Sibley Mill. And then they needed a barn for the cockfight that they had.
Oh, okay.
And so our barn, they came and looked at it, and that was the ideal place. So if you ever see the movie, the barn belongs to us.
All right. Give me the name of the movie again.
Desperate for Love.
Okay.
It's really not the greatest movie for anyone to watch. It's one of those southern draggy things.
Yeah. Sometimes they get a little draggy, though.
That's right, but we just had to watch it every time we know it's going to be on TV. We've got to turn it on. We have a copy of it.
Take a look at that barn, sure.
That's right. We have to find my husband. He looks up the camera, but I think they sort of blink him out right quick.
I'm glad you called. You take care of yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Your touches with greatness of celebrities you have a run into for whatever reason, we'd like to hear from you. 1-800-572-8255, and we're getting some good ones.
Celebrating 50 years of service to Northeast Georgia. We're News Radio 960, WRFC, Athens.
From ABC News, I'm John Belmont. No more time behind bars for Louise Woodward. The Massachusetts Supreme Court has upheld the trial judge's decision to release the British au pair on 279 days.
This is the Ludlow Porch Show on the Fun Seekers Radio Network, broadcasting from the Falcon Inn and Conference Center in Suwanee, Georgia. The toll-free lines are now open at 1-800-572-TALK. That's 1-800-572-8255. And now, here's Ludlow Porch.
Well, good morning, Fun Seekers. How y'all? Glad you're back with us. This hour being brought to you in part by Atlanta Braves Baseball and by AirTran Airlines. It's something else. Hey, we got some folks been on hold a long time. We're talking about the celebrities you have met accidentally or on purpose as we go to Noonan, Georgia, and talk to Jim. Hello, Jim.
Hello there, Ludlow. Enjoy your topic. Enjoy every day.
Thank you, sir.
I've had some brief encounters with several celebrities because we travel a lot, but my first one was when I was about 10 years old. And I always went to the Saturday morning show for a nickel, you know, had the cowboy movie and a serial comedy. But I was walking down the street and ran into Tex Ritter.
Really?
And here I was seeing a real-life cowboy without having put out my nickel. So that was a good experience.
That was good.
When I became a teenager, they had various concerts in Macon, Georgia at the auditorium, and they had Louis Armstrong.
Oh, yeah.
And we had his records, you know, and I said, oh, Louis wouldn't see us, I know. But after the concert, we walked right backstage, and there was Louis sitting there with a stack of handkerchiefs, you know, mopping the sweat off his brow.
Yeah.
and walked up to him and shook hands with him and said, "Oh, we enjoyed the concert." He said, "That's great, that's great." I said, "We also enjoyed your recent movie." He said, "Man," he said, "making those movies is great, man. There just ain't enough of it." I remember that. Great character, great musician.
Oh, yeah, it really became a part of Americana.
Exactly.
Yeah, really did.
And then I remember when we were out in Los Angeles, my wife and I went down for breakfast at our hotel, and there was Tex Beneke sitting down eating breakfast, from Glenn Miller's original orchestra.
Chattanooga Choo Choo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We walked up and told him how much he'd meant to us through the years and how much we enjoyed the music. He said, "Well, come on, sit down and have breakfast with me." So that was a great experience.
Oh, yeah.
A wonderful guy, just very down-to-earth, great personality.
Yeah, and a household name during the 40s.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And then he later, directed what was left of the Glenn Miller Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
But one experience, and this is the last one, I won't take up too much of your time, but we were at the New York World's Fair. And we'd gone into this building, and my wife went to the restroom, and I was waiting out there for her, and I looked over there, and there was Frederick March and his wife.
Really?
And when she came out, I said, "Mimi, there's Frederick March over there." She said, "Oh, Jim, don't be kidding like that." I said, "Yeah, that's Frederick. Let's go up and speak to him." So we went up, and I said, "Oh, Mr. March, it's so good to see you and to meet you." Well, he was as gracious and courtly as any Southern gentleman. He said, I said, "I appreciate your work, and we've just seen, I believe, 10 Days in May, where he played the part of a president." I believe that's right.
That's right.
And then I said, "We just enjoyed that movie. You were great, as usual." And so he just sort of bowed to my wife and stuck out his hand, shook hands with her, and said, "That is so nice. Thank you so much, sir." And so Mimi said, "Well, it was Frederick March."
Sure enough.
But then one other interesting thing happened.
Okay.
They had a VIP tour for him, of course. They were taking him around. I think his wife was in poor health, and they were taking him around on a cart to all the places and getting him right in. And I heard the conversation. He said, "Dear, I'd like to see something else while we're here." So they went up to this young boy who was just charged with taking people around in the cart. I'll never forget that. And he said, "Son, would you take us one more place?" And he said, "Well," he said, "I would, but it's time for my break." I'll never forget that.
Oh,
and man, he missed the opportunity of driving one of the greatest actors on the American screen and stage.
Oh, no question about it. That's funny.
But didn't want to interfere with his break.
Break time. Great story, buddy. You take care of yourself.
Thanks a lot.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Break time. 1-800-572-8255, Ludlow and Phil, the Fun Seekers Radio Network. Have you been just about to bust to have one of those beautiful new Dodge Intrepids or the Dodge trucks that just about everybody wants to own? Well, by golly, let me tell you how you can make those dreams come true. Jasper Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, Plymouth in beautiful Jasper, Georgia. Gang, there is just no better way to buy a car. Let me tell you why. One price shopping, no hassle, no haggle, not even any negotiations. No inflated finance rates ever. No hidden fees ever. No extra charge for custom orders and always fair prices. Plus, you get to deal with just the nicest folks I know. See what I mean when I say there's no better way to buy a Dodge truck or a Dodge Intrepid? Hang on to that thought, gang. Jasper Jeep, Dodge, Chrysler, Plymouth in Jasper, Georgia, open Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., but never on Sunday. Remember, no better way.
The year 1938. St. Mary's Sisters arrived to reopen St. Mary's, the beginning of a tradition. Healthcare with the special touches that make St. Mary's special. Holistic thinking of wellness, physical, emotional, spiritual, health education, reaching out, and of course the latest technological support. St. Mary's, carrying on the Sisters' traditions today.
I used to drink ordinary hot cocoa like Carnation or Swiss Miss, but then I found something smooth and creamy.
Ovaltine, hot.
Creamy because it's made with milk, not water.
Ovaltine, hot.
It's chocolatey and it's good for me too.
Ovaltine, hot.
Now when I want something hot and chocolatey, It's not ordinary hot cocoa.
Ovaltine Hot.
It's Ovaltine Hot.
Drink Ovaltine Hot. Compare it to your hot cocoa and taste the difference.
Let's go to Griffin, Georgia, WHIE, and talk to Fred on the radio. Good morning, brother.
Good morning, Ludlow.
How you doing?
Fine, thank you. And you?
Good.
Had a lot of storm damage down here last night.
Yeah, it made the rounds, didn't it?
Yeah. That gentleman a while ago from Union made me think my picture of Tex Ritter is still hanging in my den. I remember what year it was, still Crescent Theater in Dalton, Georgia. It was 1946 because I remember him saying as he signed his autograph, first time he's ever been in a state with two governors. That incident back then.
Yeah.
The thing I called, but every time we'd go to the airport for one reason or another, one of the children, I'd always take a autograph book.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest blunder I ever pulled was this one. We were sitting there a few years ago waiting on the plane to pull in for my daughter to fly to Oklahoma City. And this tall, blondish woman came up with a kind of semi-country western outfit on. She had on pink boots and a guitar case, and sit down in front of us, those little chairs that face each other, talking and chatting and this type thing, And she would have to go somewhere, and I said, no, why don't you watch the guitar? And the wife said, who is that? And I said, I don't know, DD, might be Donald Duck, in disguise. And I couldn't have had the autograph, but it never crossed my mind at all. Anyway, long story short, the daughter called back from Oklahoma City. She said, guess who Donald Duck was? Donna Douglas from the Beverly Hillbillies. I did not recognize her. Absolutely.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but she said she was about to talk to her on the plane all the way out to everything. But she had to call back. Boy, she didn't waste any time. As soon as we got back home, the phone was ringing.
Oh, she had to turn the knife.
Oh, yeah. That's the worst thing. And now, anything like that happens, I look all around. 390 degrees up here.
Yeah.
To make sure. Go ahead and share that one with you.
Great one, buddy. You take care of yourself.
Talk to you later.
I'll talk to you.
Bye-bye.
1-800-572-8255. Yeah, sometimes you just think about it when it's too late. Let's go to Spartanburg. Talk to Bill. Hi, Bill.
Hey, Ludlow.
How you doing, buddy?
Listen, holding on. I hadn't planned on mentioning this, but listen to that fellow's talking about Tex Ritter.
Uh-huh.
It was in Charlotte. He was at the State Theater doing about 3 or 4 shows a day.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, we didn't know where he was going doing between shows.
Yeah.
And we were just a bunch of little old snotty, mean kids. And that's when we used to get in for 10 cents to see a show.
Yeah.
And after we saw his show, and then after we were just roaming around the city of Charlotte, and instead of walking the streets, we'd always walk the alleys.
Mm-hmm.
And blessed Pat would walk behind the State Theater, and there was a station wagon, and there was a fella sitting in there asleep. And we went up there and woke him up. Guess who it was?
Tex Ritter.
Tex Ritter. And he was just as nice and friendly to us. That's not what I call what that man talked a while ago made me think of it. I wanted to tell you about, I fast forward this thing a little bit to when I was in the service, World War II.
Yeah.
I was from Charlotte, and this before we went overseas, and I became friends with a fellow from New York City. He took a liking to me for some reason. I have no idea. He said this 33 and 3rd Street and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I had that southern thick drawl.
Yeah.
And we had a Liberty, and he says, come on, country boy, I'm going to show you the big city. And I went with that fool, and we saw everything I think it was in New York City at the time, but we wound up that night at the Copacabana. And Jimmy Durante was the headliner. And I don't know if you've been there, but the main showroom is downstairs.
Yeah.
You walk down those stairs, and so we walked down those steps, and he said, stand here, country boy. I was in my uniform, and he said, stand here, country boy. I'm going to find, I guess I made a deed to get a stable. And so I was standing there looking so pitiful, little old country boy, my little old sailor uniform. And
long way from home.
Oh, and just gawking at everything was going on. And bless Pat, somebody hollered at me and says, hey, sailor, come here. Guess who it was? Jimmy Durante.
Wow.
And he called me over to his table, and he had all his showgirls, and they were all scantily dressed, big bosoms and makeup and all that kind of stuff. And so he had me to sit down at the table with him. It was about 8 or 10 of them, sure enough, and Jimmy Durante.
Oh, dream come true.
And then my friend came back, and he was looking for me. And I told Jimmy, I said, there's my friend right there. He motioned for me. I said, hey, come on, here I am, sitting there with Jimmy Durante. Anyway, when the show started, he got us a ringside table and paid for everything, and we had a ringside seat to his show.
Great.
And that fella never called me country boy again.
Great stuff. Gotta go, buddy. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Hey, just a short time ago, AirTran Airlines introduced A-Plus rewards, and folks started cashing in on these things in only 3 weeks. You can earn a fast free trip yourself. Just take 6 round trips in AirTran's business class, 12 round trips in coach, and you can earn a free ticket on any major airline to one of 66 cities or Nassau. Whatever way you go, either way, A-Plus rewards from AirTran Airlines is the fastest free ticket on earth. Here's how you can start that ball rolling. Call them, 770-994-8258, and then get your free A-Plus rewards brochure at any AirTran gate. A-Plus rewards from AirTran Airlines. It's something else.
You don't have to drag Black Bart into town to collect your reward, because Comfort Maker Comfort Rewards from your participating dealer will net you a 5-year extended parts and labor warranty for free when you buy a qualified
program and get all your testing equipment at no cost to you or at significant savings if you qualify. Please get ready to write down a phone number. The program is simple. You need to be testing at least once per day and be covered by Medicare Part B. Certified Diabetic Supplies handles all the paperwork and ships the supplies directly to your home. We do welcome private insurance, but HMO participants do not qualify. For years, CDS has conveniently provided thousands of people with high-quality supplies. Call 1-800-883-DIABETIC and let CDS simplify your life. Call now, 1-800-883-DIABETIC, 1-800-883-3422.